Okay, without a break, we're starting the business meet straight away, and we'll request Anjuna to really have a preamble to this. I know some of you have missed the tea or coffee, whatever it is. You can carry it straight forward here because it's going to be a very significant meet for this particular occasion, especially when we are meeting after 2 years, and a lot of things have changed in between. So Anjuna, if you can start it before we take over others. Okay. Others, all of you going to stay? The meet, we have big significant thanks to all the people who have really taken time out to be present here, and we will invite some of you to come over once again to the dais. It's no point wasting time, please, because now we're going to have interactive sessions as well, so we will request a part of the audience as well as the students to come over and speak in some point of time.
Thank you, Shubhashish. I would now like to open our business meet today. We haven't really kept it open-ended. We have a topic for business meet today, which is repositioning of IIEST as a research institute. Some of you must be knowing we have had a panel discussion yesterday evening from 7 to 9 p.m. where some of our distinguished alumni were present there, like Professor Amitabh Ghosh, Amitabh Bhattacharya, Professor Indranil Manna, and few others. And we actually discussed this topic yesterday during our panel discussion, and Professor Tathagata Rai, who was moderating that session. And again, I would request Shama Prasad Dotto, Shamada, to just talk about yesterday's yield from that panel discussion, and we will actually start from the audience, whoever is interested to speak on that. But just one boundary or caution, we would not start, demeaning our institute, not any personnel, not the faculty, not the deans, not the director. We would do some constructive discussion, and suggestions should be constructive. Thank you. Shamada, please.
We, the alumni of our beloved institute, we meet at different places. We have clubs, we have chapters, we have associations at various places all over the globe. And also we meet batch-wise also quite frequently. Those are mainly social get-togethers. But this alumni day has a different purpose. Actually, we are actually, and for which GAABESU was also formed. You see, we have to think positively what we can do for our institute, we can do for our students. And also, actually, it is correct that everything is not in proper shape. Yes, there may be such situations, but let us take those things as granted, and how we can improve further. That is our objective. And Anjuna has already mentioned that what will be the focus discussion in the business meet today. You see, actually, our alumni day, this alumni day started with a panel discussion yesterday evening. It was an excellent panel discussion, and there are very distinguished panelists. I will just briefly, actually, we will try to upload the entire discussion separately. It will take little time, but I will briefly mention a few points which came out during the panel discussion. The panel discussion was moderated by one of our distinguished alumnus. He was a bright student of our institute, he was a bright engineer, and he also became the governor of Tripura and later in Meghalaya, and was for certain period he was in additional charge of other states as governor. He was, as engineer, he was a very successful engineer. We all know him. Professor Tathagata Rai, he was moderated in the panel discussion. Actually, his main point was there has to have more interaction between the academics and engineers in the field. To sense actually what should be the future of the engineering, that he was the main focus, and he mentioned about the bright days of BE College, and definitely there were at that time there were very few institutes, and he wants that our beloved institute will be in that position again. Professor Amitabh Ghosh started the panel discussion. He very lucidly explained how things are, what we in the academic field and we as engineers, what we need to know, how things came forward. He gave the very detailed he explained in very great detail the genesis and also how IIST came up. He is the only surviving member of the Ananda Krishnan committee, the framers of the IIST system in India. And he expresses cause of his concern about a little bit down uptrend and of our institute in respect of ranking. Yes, it was also discussed. There may be a lot of questions about the system of ranking. But anyway, actually, one system is followed for all. But why there should be downward? But another thing was also mentioned. That you see, where there's a difference, some fraction of a number also makes a lot of difference. And also, he mentioned what should be the future. What should be the future of the engineering? And that is why there has to have constant updation of the academic system and also of syllabi. And then we had another person, he was also an alumnus of our institute, very bright alumnus, Amitabh Bhattacharya. Amitabh, he passed out in 1971. He after initial period in the consulting organization, he joined Indian Administrative Service and worked in various places. He was in charge of technical education for quite a long time. And at the retirement stage, he was in the rank of the Secretary Government of India, and he was holding the responsibility of Principal Advisor, Education and Culture in Planning Commission. Amitabh, actually, he mentioned about certain things. He mentioned about the funding of the institution. You see, now the government policy is to stress more on primary education. Higher education, yes, definitely there is a necessity, there is an importance of higher education, but that should be self-financed as far as possible, and government funding will come down. Well, actually, he also mentioned how we can tap different sources for funding. But definitely, he also very clearly, actually, this certain responsibility is given, but that any responsibility cannot go in isolation. You see, someone has to be, one who is given the responsibility, he has to be given autonomy, he has to take his own decision, that freedom has to be given. If the rule-making and all the decision-making authority is left with a person, or an organization, or in a system, and someone is given the responsibility of funding, it can never work. He also mentioned about National Research Foundation for getting fund for research, and very clearly mentioned about autonomy and freedom of the institution in particular. He also mentioned another point, use of local language to the extent possible. But he mentioned that that English should not be ignored, but he also mentioned that in a study, worldwide study, it has been seen in Russia, China, and those places, Japan, they are doing better as their medium of teaching is in their own language. But definitely, we cannot have a sudden change. There has to have a gradual progress, step by step. And he also mentioned about the futuristic orientation. You see, everything is changing. We must look for the future, that is. And yes, another study he mentioned that Indian students lack in higher level of thinking. You see, actually, it's definitely, this point also he mentioned, that Indian students are in different places in the world. They have the excellent contributions, but they have little lacking compared in general. But another thing, this is actually, since we have a very young manpower, average age is 30, that should be utilized more gainfully. And you see, actually, he also mentioned a position of professor of practice and to bring in research culture in the organization. And for all this, there has to be a system where all can work together. If someone must not feel that this is your responsibility to do it, I will finally decide. That cannot happen. He wants that, as per this short-term goal, our institute should be brought among 10 top institutes in the country. And the medium term would be, he also suggested, now it is IIST. He also suggested, since the IIST system was thought about, now our institute is the only IIST. Now whether there will be another IIST or not, sure. If that be the case, that our institute stay in isolation, there should be a goal to convert into IIT Shibpur. He also gave instances that there are more than one IIT in some of the states. Gautam Rai, our alumnus, 1981 batch, he is holding a very high position in the industry. He mentioned about customer-centric approach, and also what is the requirements of the society. That requirements, technological requirement, that should be dovetailed in the academic curriculum. He also mentioned about the industry has a huge requirement of R&D, and that the institute should tap that resources. Professor Indranil Manna, he is also an alumnus of our institute. Presently, he is Vice Chancellor, BIT Mesra. He mentioned about the shifting of priority. We have to identify where we have to prioritize. There are certain requirements, and unless we prioritize, we cannot go ahead step by step. He also mentioned the teacher-student ratio. That is, unfortunately, at present, this is pathetic all over the country. You see, actually, yesterday's discussion was not focused on IIST Shibpur in particular. It was an engineering education in the 21st century in general. he also mentioned that money is a problem, but still we'll have to go forward. And there are ways to go. And the other speaker was Shuman Chakraborty from IIT Kharagpur. He also mentioned he has a very, spending a lot of time in academic circle and doing very excellent work. His work has been recognized all over. He gave very, very important suggestions. And we have decided that we will, and there were some questions and there were some comments also, but we could not take those comments. We have decided that we will prepare a document, and definitely a team will work on it, and we will invite suggestions from others, and we'll after preparing a roadmap, we will try to take it forward. And now we will invite views from our alumni present here. We are very serious about noting down their points. As Anjana has clearly mentioned, we would look forward to constructive suggestions. Yes, there are problems, there are various issues, but how we can go forward. We as alumni, we also feel that things are not going in the proper shape. To start this, I will not elaborate further. To start this, I would first invite Soumitra Banerjee, our alumnus, 1981 mechanical. Soumitra is presently holding charge of IISER, and so that is a great national level institute, and they are doing excellent work. And last year we got some opinion of views of Soumitra as a panelist. This year, since Soumitra has to leave, actually he is an alumnus of Narendrapur Ramakrishna Mission. They are waiting for him. Actually, he has to be there as quickly as possible. That is why I request Soumitra for his. We are very keen to listen from you. Soumitra, please.
Friends, let me introduce myself because many of you may not know me. I graduated from here in 1981, electrical. And after that, I did Masters and PhD from IIT Delhi. And after that, I taught for 23 years at IIT Kharagpur. And then I moved to IISER Kolkata. Presently, I am teaching physics. The basic thing that I am expected to discuss relates to repositioning of the institution from a teaching institution to a teaching plus research institution. Now, this is a very difficult thing. Those of you who are not in academia may think that what is the difficulty? Ask your faculty members to do research. No, it doesn't work. Somebody who has taught and only taught for say 20 years, suddenly if he is asked to do research, he simply cannot. Research is a different kind of mindset, an ongoing process, and unless you are there in that process, you cannot suddenly start it at 45 years of age or 50 years of age. Therefore, it is necessary in order to repositioning to figure out who are among the faculty in a position to start research and then recruit new manpower to do the research. Now, what are the impediments in starting the research? All of you have been in this institution, you know that our departments were basically the faculty offices plus the teaching laboratories. Were there any research laboratory there? No. So you have to create research space, research laboratory. You need to have research equipment for that. And most importantly, something that was mentioned in yesterday's panel discussion,
that if a faculty member has 12 to 15 hours of teaching, plus he or she is expected to do research, is simply not possible. Therefore, there has to be some kind of an internal mechanism by which those who excel in teaching are evaluated for teaching, are awarded for their teaching, and at the same time, those who excel in research are evaluated for their research and are awarded for their research excellence. And since those who are not engaging in research, they are mainly expected to excel in teaching, therefore they should carry relatively more teaching load, thus reducing the teaching load on those who intend to excel in research, and they have to be evaluated accordingly. So what my suggestion would be for an institution like this is an administrative change. The way everything used to take place, now there has to be a change in the way things are done, in the way promotions are considered, in the way loads are distributed. All these must change in order for a vision that 10 years from now we should get there. Now 10 years from now we should get there. If we have that vision, there has to be a path. And that path is very important. Without following the right path, it is not possible to get there. Now, this institution has faced this challenge. And it is not the only institution which has faced this challenge. Presently, IIT Roorkee, it was also a teaching-only engineering institution. It had to change over to an IIT. BHU, it was a teaching-only institution. It had to change over to an IIT. So there have been, Dhanbad, there have been institutions and they all face this challenge. Some of them have succeeded and some of them have not. And we need to learn from those experiences, where and why some institutions succeeded, why and why some institutions did not. And moreover, most importantly, it is necessary that we build a research space and we get research equipment. Without that, research is only daydream. That requires money. So unless money comes, it really, getting a repositioning of a teaching institution into a research institution will not really take place unless we build the research infrastructure. And as I said, that requires money. Now, this is one major impediment. As I understand, the amount of money that was promised when the changeover happened, that money did not come. Most of it did not come. As a result, the institution is facing an uphill task. And we, the alumni, must pitch in whatever way we can in bridging that gap. But most importantly, the new education policy promises 6% of the budget to be given to this. But problem is that this was there in 1968 education policy that also promised 6% of the GDP. 1986 education policy that also promised 6% of GDP, and then 2000 education policy that also promised 6% of the GDP, and yet the amount of expenditure, country's expenditure on education has never exceeded 3%. So, therefore, that problem might linger. Even though there are promises that might linger, and then we have to do something as alumni. We need to pitch in, we need to support as much as possible, and it is true that many of us have succeeded in our careers, and so it is possible for us to help the institution in this hour of need. With that, I'll just end. Thank you.
Thank you, Soumitra. We take down your very, very relevant points, and such focused points was important for us. Now, actually, Professor Ajay Rai, is he here? He told me that he will be here, and he has also a...
Criticize anybody. What is the fun of standing here if I do not call a spade a spade? I initially thought I'll speak in Bengali, but I have contact of this. I'll speak for a few minutes. Kindly permit me. I have contact in the college. Very often they come to gossip and adda in mechanical department and to take classes in civil engineering. I am a graduate in mechanical engineering. But anyway, as it may. So I know the situation in the college. There are 50% of the students in this college for last 2-3 years who comes from Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. So though I thought I'll be speaking in Bengali, but I have to switch to English. I propose our next director as professor who just gave you a lecture. He appeared for interview in the last board meeting for selection, but he was laughed out of the board. You will never be selected by us, you know that. Anyway, I wish for the improvement of our college that such people who had the ideas and the know-how are selected instead of a person who doesn't listen to the alumni, whose first job was throw out the alumni. Who is this GAABESU? Throw it off. You see, if you have to take steps to do something, you must know where the shoe pinches. So I rest assured, my president, that I will never use any unparliamentary language, but I will at least permit me to explain where the shoe pinches. Before our alumni meet on the first, when the director joined this organization, before that, I rang him twice. I was the president of GAABESU at that time. I requested him, you are wonderful, you are joining our institution. I welcome you. We did it twice before he joined. Then he said, no, I have got some research paper to clear. There will be some delay in joining and all that. I said, welcome, fair enough. Then we met him and all this. But it appears from my handling of this, from being present in this situation, that he is not interested in listening to us. He asked for funds from us, from GAABESU, for using the Alumni Institute. But he did not ask funds from the political parties whom he gave the permission to use this institute. I have to talk about myself. Please excuse me, which is very bad in civility, but to make things clear, I have to understand few things. I have to make things. So, 12 of us, including my friend from Canada, Amitabh, and Partho, my friend from USA, Partho, we went and invited the director that please join our alumni meet. On the day of the alumni meet, when I rang him, he was in his quarters. He said, you never invited us. Why should I go? And fortunately for me, I put my mobile on loud mode. So my president and others at that time, they heard all these things. This is not appreciated. This is not appreciated. Lying is not appreciated in civil society. Now, Professor Banerjee discussed certain things regarding the improvement of our college. Well, fine. But who will listen? You see, you cannot talk to the ministers. You cannot talk to the individual teachers. You cannot. GAABESU has brilliant ideas, but they has to be conveyed to the director. The director must be listened. The director has not come today. He is on leave today. Why? He doesn't want to face the music. He doesn't want to sit here. That is the plain truth. He is on leave today. And he was on leave on the last time also. I don't know. That is the one of the, this place is one of the best place. Don't worry, ma. This is to be discussed. You cannot keep truth out and you think all problems will be solved. No problem will be solved. GAABESU will not be able to do a pinch of improvements in this college. Since you you can do things through the medium of the director only. If he is not willing to listen to you, then whom do you talk to? So, this is the situation, and now I have talked enough. I have not talked enough. I could have talked for half an hour, but my president is very strongly looking at me. So, thank you. So, I am stopping at this point. Now, I come to a personal thing for which from next year onwards, I will not join this August meeting. I will come to that. Now, a few personal things. For the last so many years, I paid 12,000 rupees for this alumni, for GAABESU as a donation each. This, I am 83 years old. I paid 1,100 rupees joining fee. I said, I don't want to take senior citizen advantage. One, I am talking about myself, very sorry. Then, So I know what is happening about this college, but when our GAABESU decided some people will meet the chairman of the board, I don't know, I was not selected. I thought I am the most appropriate man to talk to the chairman of the board. But I was not selected. So this is, every year I take 4 lakhs of rupees, 3 lakhs of rupees. This year I have collected 2 lakhs of rupees. Please, I am sorry. This is a very good way of expressing myself. But anyway, this was done. This is last. I am not going to do it anymore. GAABESU do not accept that I am one of the member of GAABESU. And I am competent to talk to the chairman of the board. Anyway, so this is as it stands. I am sorry, I have expressed certain truth. I wish Professor Dr. Banerjee is selected. I again saying this, very appropriate person. He knows ins and out of this college, and he is a professor who has been experienced all over the world, and he runs various individual organizations for development of science. I am deeply involved with him. I wish a person, he or a similar person is selected for the directorship of this organization instead of a blind person or non-listening person who will no way, he cannot improve our college. Why? He doesn't know what is the problem. He is a clerk, interested in his salary, and he stayed 6 months in our guest house for improving the quality of his quarter. Anyway, with these things, I have got no faith in having any dialogue with him, since that will be useless. You cannot talk to a stone. Who said, my ears are stopped. I know what I have to do. I am not going to listen to GAABESU. So, I have used certain strong language. I ask from the secretary and from the president and from our Shama, our organizer, forgiveness if I have hurt their feelings. But I thought everybody is talking very softly. But you see, Bangla ekta shobdo ache, lati dhegi chore othe na. You have to behave appropriately. Now, Mr. President, my president never permits that I see the director. She is afraid that I will be talking rough. But what do? You have to talk rough to a man who doesn't listen. Anyway, thank you very much for kindly permitting me to talk and permitting this forum to express my mind, which I believe I have spoken the truth. Thank you.
Achyuta, I am a bit shocked. Actually, we cannot think of any alumni meet, whether here or somewhere else, without Achyuta. You will not come in the next alumni day. We just cannot accept it. You will have to come. You will have to come. And another thing, this time you have given me the responsibility as the convener. And now, actually, when this is being organized when I am the convener, you are saying that actually from this experience you will not come for the next. This is not acceptable to us anyway. But you see, actually, I told you right in the beginning, actually, there maybe it is not that everything is fine, but we have to accept the situation, what it is. And definitely, I am not pessimistic. We'll have to change the situation. How we can make a change? That is our intention. We must chalk out that. You see, actually, already Achyuta, actually, he openly mentions like this. You see, there has been a notice for inviting applications for the new director. Hopefully, we will have a director of our beloved institution who will take our institution forward, and definitely for which one of us has a role, and that should be looked into. You see, and now Pratik, are you here? Pratik? Yeah, Pratik, you please come. Pratik. Yes, please come. You see, Pratik is intimately associated with GAABESU. He is the executive committee in the GAABESU, the working president. He was secretary GAABESU, and he is one of the faculty members in mining department. And he knows the position here, and also in the GAABESU, since inception, since he is involved with GAABESU, would like to know from Pratik and some others from the institute about the situation and what we can do for this. Pratik, please.
Well, as you already mentioned that I've been intimately connected with GAABESU for long, but today probably he invited me to speak as one of the faculty members. I've been working here from 1995. I have gone through, I was student, passed in 1990 in mining engineering. So that time it was VE College. When I joined institution as a lecturer, it was DU. Then I saw the transformation to GAABESU and finally to IIST. So I've gone through the entire journey. I'm not sure whether this is the right platform to express everything what is going wrong in the institute or where we can improve upon. So I'll just share a few things. I was eagerly listening to the speech by Shomitoda. He pointed out a few things, some of the problems he highlighted that happens when you convert a primarily teaching institute to a research institute. Now, repositioning of IIST, that's pretty important, but you have to clearly keep it in mind, what is the intended reposition? Because in the process, what happened during our journey since the formation of IIST 2014, we completely, got oblivious of our objective, because when the Anandakrishnan committee introduced the concept of IIST, they had something in mind. And that was basically repositioning of some institutes, not normal engineering colleges, not an IIT, something else. So that repositioning was clearly stated in the report of Anandakrishnan committee. But in the process, not only we, as the faculty members or the internal part of the organization, but at the same time the government of India, they also lost the complete track. So they have clubbed us along with an NIT council. So every notice I get, everything I get, it's applicable for all the NITs and IIST Shivpur. So everything is already clubbed with the NIT system. For example, IISC is there. IISC Bangalore, so that has been able to reposition itself long back. It's not IIT, everybody knows what IISC stands for, what they do. But in our case, from administrative system to promotion system, for everything we are clubbed with NIT. There is no exception. Our board of governors, how they'll function, our statute, how it will work, everything is related to that only. Now, talking about repositioning, definitely, as I said, it has to be in line with what Ananda Krishnan committee said. Once again, it's time to recalibrate our objectives and align us with the what was stated in Ananda Krishnan committee. That is something is very much required. I'll be brief, but I'll just put some comments why research is not successful as it happens as of now. I'll say that research is not successful. That's not true. Research is partially successful. Partially, why I'm saying that we have our labs. We have our labs. Not only have our teaching labs, we have our research labs also. We had some high-end analytical facilities, sophisticated instruments lab, but no manpower was given. Maintenance was not there. I know that crores and crores of high-end equipments are just lying idle because it's not being used, because nobody's there to take care of it. It's basically an administrative failure. It's not that it was the lack of the equipment that we had. We had these things. What we are lacking here primarily is we do not have a system in place to incentivize the researchers. For example, probably I can speak. I can see some of the illustrated colleagues like Shubhashish, Nitaida and Shubroto, I can see them. They are pretty good researchers. They have already established themselves in the research field. So probably I also somehow belong to that, because as of now, I have implemented not less than 8 sponsored research projects. I have all the research projects that are nationally, internationally funded. I have implemented undertaken not less than 15 consultancy projects. So probably I know something what is right and what is wrong in the institute. So thing is, why shall I do research? If you look into the complete profile of our faculty members, you'll see that only a few are getting involved, only few, and out of their own volition. There is no system in place, as I said, to provide proper impetus to the research. For example, if I look into my research projects, other projects, probably I have brought in few crores of overhead fund, because the project is given, there is something called the institutional overhead. I have brought in more than a few crores of institutional overhead fund, but I have got zero out of it. No, nothing. I have not got anything out of it. Normally, if you look into the IIT system, there is something called a professional development fund. The money that you bring as overhead, a certain percentage goes for the professional development of the faculty. It's on the faculty's account. I can use it for my own, source, for purchasing some equipment, doing my, supporting some of my research fellows, and going abroad, meeting anyone. Okay, but that fund is not there. We have been talking about it for the last 10 years. As of now, that thing is not there. Then second issue that we are facing that Shomituda rightly pointed out, those who are involved in teaching, let them be involved in teaching. Let them take little more extra, load of teaching. But the teaching load here is same for everyone, irrespective of someone is involved in research or not. Doesn't really matter, because nobody cares. Nobody cares, because teaching load will be there. When it comes to the load distribution departments, everybody will be equally divided. Nobody really sees that this person has 3 current research projects going on, but even then he has to carry out the same amount of, he has to share the same amount of teaching burden. Another vexing issue here is our mindless bureaucracy in the institution, which we should take care of. Our purchase rules. Even for purchasing 50,000 cost of, equipment, it's a real pain in the bad place. I'm telling you, I'm sure everyone inside an institute will agree that how painful is a process. And these things have got, deteriorated in the recent years. They're not so bad earlier. But recent years, due to, introduction of different things, this GFR rules and other things, whatever government of India proposes, we make it even more stringent. That's something is happening. These are the changes which are really required. And finally, I'll say that in terms of a promotion from assistant professor, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, in associate professor and professor, I'm fortunate to have been promoted long back to post professor. But if I look into the others, you see, you'll be surprised to know that initially in the we are just collaborating with the NIT system, that whatever NIT's governance council has said that these are the requirements for promotion, if you meet it, then you are eligible. We have not made it very stringent. For example, now, there is previously there used to be some kind of criteria related to your excellence in research. For example, in the professor post, it used to be said that you need to have at least 2 PhDs supervised. You need to have at least 3 high-value research projects, at least 3 publications, 4 publications in the ACI journals. Those things were clearly mentioned. But later on, what happened? NIT Council themselves made a point-based system. Point-based system means somebody getting 80 points is eligible to get a professorship. And those 80 points, out of the 80 points, without doing anything in academics, somebody can score 60 points. Little bit of academics, you get 80. Definitely it's not forum to name anyone, but I'm telling you that somebody, I know, he got 80.5 points. He was eligible for the interview of professor, he was selected, and he got a deanship also. With no PhD supervision, no research supervision, no sponsor, which is nothing. So if you don't change these things, the change has to come from within. The change has to come from us. So I don't think the alumni has got any role in it. Alumni can support us. Alumni will not come. We have to reach out to the alumni with the specific proposals that we have. So unless we, address these issues, the repositioning of IIST will not be possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratik, for your very important points. Definitely. Pravita, I was just going to call you actually right at this time. Your batch is now celebrating the 60 years of passing out, and I know many of your batchmates are here. Pravita, you please come, you say something.
Is Dr. Praveen Yogi, 1962 civil engineering graduate, and as was mentioned by Shama, our batch is celebrating the 60th anniversary of our graduation. I have 2 small claims to fame. One is that I'm a classmate of Professor Amitav Ghosh, a very old friend from our first year in 1958. And second, and this may surprise you, my family has been associated with this institution for 98 years, since a young student named Prabhat Yogi entered Bengal Engineering College in 1924 and graduated in civil engineering in 1928. He, of course, was my late father. I have lived abroad since graduating and going abroad to study in 1962, so my views can only be that of somebody looking in from outside. I live in Canada, but I have been involved with GAABESU for 55 years, and I strongly, perhaps in a little less polite language, endorse some of the points that were made by both Soumitra and Achyuta, but I'll add 3 other points, and I'm only doing this because Amitav Ghosh is not here. First, for those of you who have read the Anandakrishnan report, an attempt was made. It was made to reposition the IIST as something different from an NIT or even an IIT. And the mechanism was the 5-year dual BTech MTech degree. This is what would separate the IIST or IISTs, because more than one were planned, from the normal 4-year teaching college. And Amitabh always maintains that a decisive misstep was taken when the 5-year dual degree was not enforced and exit was allowed after the 4 years, because a lot of students felt that the market would not award them for having done a 5-year BTech and Tech. Be that as it may, that immediately cut you off from a supply of master's students who would have provided a pool for young researchers. It's wise to remember that. The other point I would make, and make very strongly, is this. There are a large number of alumni who are interested, I will use the term B College if you don't mind, in the success of our institution. Some of them are even willing to help. But there is a very famous phrase in Hindi which says, "Tali ek haath se nahi bajti." In other words, the administration of this institution, unless it looks upon the alumni as a strategic long-term partner and is willing to work with them on a medium-term basis for the uplift of the institution, it is very unlikely that, with the exception of people like Professor Owen Deb or one or two others, you will have alumni who will come forward and try to help on a long-term basis or even contribute large sums of money. And as for the upgradation of the college, I refer you again to this two-part article that Amitabh Bhattacharya wrote in the statement on December 17th and 18th. And he suggested this two-phase plan to upgrade IIEST to an IIT. And he said the first medium-term phase of that plan should be to raise the ranking from 40th in the NRIF to within the first 10. I would be more than thankful if we could raise the ranking to the first 20, because what many of you may not realize is, I call this a sheep and goats problem. If we fall out of the bucket where the research institutions will be kept and fall into the bucket of the teaching institutions, then once you have been categorized, it will be a vicious downward spiral. Madam President, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Pravita. You see, actually, Ajay Rai, are we here?
Thank you, Shama. I didn't come to deliver a lecture here, of all things. But anyway, I was called upon to say a few words, and being a Bengali and a mic there, I couldn't resist the temptation of doing justice to it, my names. Now, I have two observations. One observation which spans more than 2 decades at least, and that is the absence of teachers during the alumni meets. In our time, we used to find all our professors in the business meet and other functions, equally enthusiastic about the happenings here. They were aligned with the students, and they were there. For at least for last 2 decades, I have seen that not happening. Number one point. Number two is that in our time, we had role models in our own departments. Some people or other who were someone we wanted to, be something like that, a role model. I'm leaving aside Professor Shankar Sen and Lord Mukherjee. They were out of the, and even Professor Deb and Sharkar in our. department. Such people, if they are there fully aligned with the students and so sincere about their own work, the institution has to do good. And young researchers, if they find someone worthwhile to work with, they will be interested in coming here and working. I do not think we have many such people, many such professors in the campus today, in the college today, and not today. In fact, there are instances when very important, well-known, capable professors wanted to help the institution and come and work there almost with no remuneration. They were also not given much importance and seriously taken, the cognizance was given. And my submission is that we may blame others, the administration and many other things, but the rot within is more important to be treated than anything else. And second point is a personal point. I think I'm not mistaken in assuming that there are a number of scholarships and donations given by ex-students from time to time. I do not know whether there is any track is there and whether the fund is being utilized, or whether, at least in my case, I had two small, fund created in memory of my father and my grandfather. Both of them were alumnus of this college. But see, after that, I have not heard anything as to whether the fund is being utilized, and if so, in which way. It must be happening to all other funds. And the total sum will not be very meager either. That's my guess. So this doesn't need any administrative change. It's the willingness. I'm sure some professor, whether any head of the department is aware of the existence of such funds, I wonder. But I would love to have feedback as to what is happening to the fund that I created, a small fund maybe, but it was given for a specific purpose, and whether this is being utilized. So these are the 2 points I would like to make. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your very, very important points. And you have also raised certain issues which are to be looked into definitely. You see, actually, definitely, there are funds given by our alumni. And alumni come forward to contribute by way of financial resources and or some other area. But it is a requirement that should be actually, if the fund is utilized for some purpose, the person has to be intimated. Sometimes what is happening, they are not getting intimation about the utilization of the fund. This is actually, there has to have, now at this time, actually I've seen in the paper that the chairperson of the board of governors, he mentioned about the alumni fund from the alumni. But you see, actually, fund is not the only factor. There has to have alumni are prepared to come forward to participate in the journey to make an institution excellent. But there has to have reciprocation. My friend Samuel Mitru has mentioned about this, but I know a substantial fund was provided by one of our alumni for a chair professor in civil engineering department, Bijoy Asu chair professor. I came to know that, and there was an agreement that the chair would not be kept vacant for more than 3 months. But I came to know that chair was kept vacant for a very, very long time. Very long time, and I interacted with the donor and the family members. They are deeply frustrated that fund was not being utilized. Even whether it is done or not, whether something is done or not, they are not communicated. I do not know whether that chair has been filled up by this time. This is administrative. I also know that that time was the head of civil engineering department. He did a lot. He carried the things forward, but ultimately the chair was not filled up. This is something happening. But now the donor is no longer there. He left with the information that his fund is lying idle. But simultaneously, he gave another fund to Bethune College. Bethune College regularly keeps his family members informed and keeps regular touch. One of our alumni, 1960 batch, Nipendra Prasanna Acharya, he just started a seed fund of 20 lakhs to start a culture of research among students, undergraduate students and postgraduate students. Actually, he mentioned certain criteria. It was intimated to all the departments, but actually nothing is being done, and particularly the fund of 10 lakhs given by Shamul Mitro. From GAABESU, it was intimated repeatedly to various departments. But there has to have some process that there is some fund available, how we can utilize this. Now I would request Tadagata Rai, 1966 Civil, our beloved Tadada, please.
Dear Shama, dear Anjana, our fellow alumni, and dear students, I didn't mean to speak today, but apparently it has become a duty to come and just blabber something, whether it has any substance or not. Actually, for the last 30 years or so, I have been blabbering away and basically talking nonsense for such a long time that I've become quite used to it. And but coming back to my alma mater, I'd try very hard to talk sense. Where should I begin? I remember when I was teaching in Jadavpur, I was attending one of the counseling sessions. That was in 2002. At that time, I didn't have much connection with B College, and I heard someone during counseling saying that B College is no longer residential. It came almost as a shock. I realized that I should have known this earlier, but somehow I had got off touch. And I could not imagine that B College could be anything other than what our familiar place is. The familiar routine of getting up at 7 in the morning, 1 o'clock, teaching, attending classes till 11, then 2 hours of eating and siesta. That siesta was an absolutely de rigueur for me. Then coming back to class, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock was the time for dozing. And for that dozing, a lot of us got thrown out of class, and then until 4. Now this routine has apparently been disturbed because after it has become a non-residential college, I think it begins at 10, right? Classes?
9.
Classes begin at 9. That is okay, but things must change. Nothing remains as it was, poribartoni sangsharer niyam, as it is said in the Holy Bhagavad Gita. But even so, these things like this shock me. What I would dearly love to know is the sort of camaraderie that we B College ex-students had. Does it still exist? I remember just one occasion, long time back, I think it was about 2004 or 2005. The college had just lost its residential character, but most of the students and alumni who were there, they were products of the residential system. So I remember I was talking to someone and telling him that once upon a time, long time back in 1975, I got a chance to go on a Rotary fellowship to I think St. Louis in Missouri State, and I couldn't make it because I didn't get leave, basically. I didn't get leave. So I was very sore about it. This topic just came along. I mean, I wasn't on this particular topic or anything of the sort. Suddenly, a guy comes up from nowhere, looked like pretty much like my grandson. And he said, "Sir, I live near St. Louis. Would you like to come?" So I was surprised. I said, "What is your name? Which batch? Are you still a student or what?" He said, "No, I'm not a student. I am an alumnus of 2001 batch or something like that. I have forgotten his name. It will come back in a little while. Nominal amnesia is one of the rewards of old age." So I said, "Where do you live?" He said, "I live in Cape Girardeau, a place on the Mississippi River near St. Louis. Would you come to my house?" So I said, "It won't be any inconvenience. You hardly ever know me." He said, "Sir, আপনি আমার কলেজের দাদা, আপনি আসবেন, আমার অসুবিধা হবে, আপনি কি করে ভাবতে পারলেন?" Then I actually visited him. And what a wonderful time I had. 2 days with a person who is so many years younger than me, so many years junior, and yet we had struck up a relationship which existed then. Does it exist now, after the residential system is gone? I would dearly love to know. Second thing which has been exercising the minds of many of us is the drop in our ranking, in the national ranking framework. This is something when we meet each other, the alumni, always we talk about. So, is there anything we can do about it? We alumni can do about it. Yes, we can. We certainly can. Some of us are quite influential. Some of us were influential at one point of time, and some of these people have got together and trying to influence the proper quarters in the hope that something will be done. But the point is, we must remember that while we are basking in the sunlight of our past glory, the other institutions will not sit quietly. They will try to improve themselves, they will try to upgrade themselves and eventually come to a state where they will leave B College or IIST behind. That is exactly what has happened. Some time back our finance minister said that the value of rupee has not fallen. The value of dollar has risen beyond all expectations. So dollar has appreciated in respect of rupee, in respect of yen, in respect of euro, in respect of all other currencies. So the same thing has caused the rupee to fall in respect of the dollar. So similarly, we have fallen because the others have gone ahead. The question therefore is, why have we been left behind? Why have we not been able to keep up? Yesterday, there was a panel discussion which I was given the privilege of moderating, in which the first person who was discussing was Dr. Amitabh Ghosh. We all know Dr. Amitabh Ghosh is a great scholar, great engineer, great teacher. We are hugely proud of him. Dr. Amitabh Ghosh pointed out certain things. First thing, the lecture that he gave is worth remembering. Those of you who haven't participated in the discussion, I would recommend that you get hold of the discussion. Just a little while back I told Ronenda. Ronenda, in case you don't know, is a husband of Snigdha, whom everyone knows. Who's Snigdha? May I have your permission to call you Antimony? So, therefore, I am asking all of you to do it, to listen to that thing, and I am sure that Shama and Anjana will find out some way, either upload it on the YouTube or whatever. It should be available, isn't it? So they assure me that it is there on the YouTube. Please listen to it. Dr. Amitabh Ghosh is not only Amitabh Ghosh, Gautam Rai, CEO of CSC, who is here, his speech was also a memorable one. Shuman Chakraborty, ar kara kara chilo? Amitabh Bhattacharya, IAS officer, an alumni of this college, RK. And Indranil Manna, right now the director of Besra Rachi. All of their speeches were memorable, but Dr. Amitabh Ghosh's speech took the cake. Some of the things that he said were really mind-boggling, difficult to understand. He was talking, we are basically, I at least, was a pick and shovel kind of engineer until 1990. Then I got catapulted into academics, and I taught in Jadavpur University construction engineering for 20 years. What did I teach? I specialized in the interaction of engineering and law, a very odd subject, and that was an advantage with me. But the point is that my transition from the pick and shovel variety of engineering to the teaching profession gave me some insights into the teaching of engineering as well as research, all these things. And even then, in spite of all this exposure, I could not imagine some of the things that Dr. Ghosh was saying yesterday. He was talking about miniaturization. He said that so far we have done miniaturization up to 2 dimensions. In the coming years, we will see miniaturization in 3 dimensions. Can you imagine that everything is being made from molecules? And I really can't reproduce what he had said. I very sincerely ask all of you to listen to yesterday's panel discussion, not because I moderated it. The moderator has no particular role, but for the people who spoke at it, including Gautam, who is present here, they all spoke excellently. From these speeches, what I understood is that unless we import these really modern ideas into our syllabus over here, into our understanding, into our the thought of our students, into our teaching processes, unless we do all these things, we will be left behind. We will slide possibly further back from number 40. So let us do it. Another thing which I don't think, whether he said it or someone else said it, I remember, but don't remember, but what is significant, it is something very significant. It is the transition from, or rather the contrast among science, engineering, and technology. The speaker said that science is, engineering is applied science. What he said basically in substance. It's engineering is applied science and technology is applied engineering. That is putting it extremely simple, but it is not that simple. And this contrast, this transition from science to engineering and engineering to technology gives rise to a thought that is it possible to have overlapping areas? And the speaker, I am sorry, very sorry that I don't remember who it was, but the speaker very clearly said that yes, it is possible. And in the Ananda Krishnan Commission, which really floated the idea of IIESTs, they had thought of having engineering science as the substance of this IIEST. The speaker pointed out, it was Dr. Amitava Ghosh. I am thankful to Anjana, because I was all along thinking it was Dr. Amitava Ghosh himself, that he had pointed out that in the phrase, the Indian Institute of Engineering, Science and Technology, there is no comma between engineering and science. Engineering science is something which ought to have been taught in this, ought to be taught, ought to have been taught in this institution. Sadly, it has not been done, and unless this is done, this institution will not see the fruition of the ideas that Ananda Krishnan Commission had floated. Dr. Ghosh is the only surviving member of that commission, and therefore the words that he said are really wrought in gold. Now, these are just some random thoughts that I threw at the gathering here, including the faculty, for bettering the status, the syllabus, the teaching methods in this college. I don't want to go on further. I have spoken for very long periods until people have started pulling me at the back of my dhoti and saying, Dada, shesh korun, aro bokta achi. But I know that this is not such a place, and therefore, of my own, I'll conclude my speech with just one expression of one feeling, that it fills my heart with great joy that I have come here back to BE College. IIEST, I'm sorry, but IIEST be blowed. We have come back to BE College. That is something which fills my heart, and please hold this thing with the usual pomp and glamour that we have seen. I am sure that as long as Shama and Anjana and the others, they are comrades, they are in charge here, they will do it, but even otherwise, it ought to be done. Thank you very much, friends.
Thank you, Tatada. Yes, actually, we have decided that yesterday's evening program was really wonderful, and there were very valuable points. We are thinking of uploading the discussion in the YouTube. It will take little time, but it will be done, and you will all get it. Actually, we will inform all the alumni. And yes, one point I must mention, that actually what Soumitra also mentioned, that you see, actually we have changed from BE College to GAABESU to IIEST system. Now actually this change, every change, we must prepare, this change in management is important. What Soumitra mentioned, that we must prepare a path, and there should be a time frame to complete their path. That is what is important. Before that, when we were thinking of that our institute will get converted to IIST as the first IIST, that time we mentioned many times that actually there has to have a planning for that, but it was not there. But now, you see, actually, this IIST suddenly that change was actually, it was a well-thought document. Suddenly it was changed. Yes, it is not correct, we will go by this. But I feel that we must go through the objective very closely and decide what to do our next steps. You see, we gave out specific point for discussion today, and is there anyone to say a few points on this, on a particular topic? Shantanu Kalmukar, are you here if you want to say? Shantanu or Nitai, they also like Pratik, and Shantanu is the founder, secretary of GAABESU, knows a lot of work, lot of things about this conversion, and he being a faculty of this institute and also the first Dean External Relations and Alumni Affairs. Shantanu, if you can mention a few points which we should take note of. Shantanu, please.
So, all Dadas, seniors are here, also my brothers and sisters. Yesterday I have listened already, Tothagoda already explained that those had an opportunity to listen yesterday's seminar presentation, repositioning of IST Shibpur, and also what will be trained in 21st century. Starting from the Amitav Ghosh, Amitav Bhattacharya, and also I think Gautamda is also here, and our batchmate Indralin Manna, and also Sumon Chakraborty. So really also suggested that it will be available in YouTube, then you will understand. I want to add something because still now we have observed that if you have a gatherings of 1,000 and more than that, we have no auditorium. The infrastructure is lagging like that way. Still now our institute hall is that. And today also Soumitra Banerjee also very nicely has depicted the picture, the scenario in terms of the funding and the research and teaching the two avenues, how it can grow simultaneously or different way. That also he has narrated. Only thing I have to add, because I'm the very beginning of that S.K. Joshi committee, after that Ananda Krishnan committee, and Professor Amitav Ghosh correctly pointed out how the IIST has been given, Engineering Science and Technology, Engineering Science, there is no comma, etc. He has explained. And it is also that time they have Ananda Krishnan committee, and after that Expenditure Finance committee, that is a 5-year project plan has been initiated that time. But we are not getting the opportunity to get that kind of fund, 5-year span. At least we have, everything has been depicted in that documentation, that we need auditorium, we need academic building, we have seminar room. So when 2014, that one domain has been converted from the Congress domain to BJP domain, and after that 2014 to the 2022. So whatever has been mentioned in terms of the teacher-student ratio, in terms of the research funding, in terms of the infrastructure, that time in 900 crores actually picture is there. Escalation, if you take, maybe more than 2,000 crores will be there in terms of hostel, accommodation, academic building, auditorium, so many infrastructure are there, but unfortunately we have never reached that level. Now, total scenario, what has been depicted summarily, Soumitra has also told, that if you really grow, at the same time, Pratik Datta also told that if you have really to research to grow, you need the development of the laboratory, and also how to maintain the laboratory, how to purchase the scenario. Everything has been blocked in this scenario. But we always expect, like Samada also told, that it is not the end. Some way the leadership will come, will motivate the two direction. Who are a very good teacher, they can go along with. Who are the research field, they can go accordingly. And obviously we reach that what are the glorious past we have. because everybody is coming here because of the BE college primarily. BE college, and after that what are they expected that it has been grown to that level for which the transformation has been made. But unfortunately we are not reached yet. But we need challenges are ahead, and we have to meet the challenges, and we hope in the meantime the good leadership will come and we can reach that goal. Okay, thank you very much.
We cannot continue for long, since actually it is already 25 minutes past 1. If anyone else, Gautam, would you like to say anything now? Acha, okay. And from 64 batch, Shamudda, your batch, there is a large representation of your batch. If anyone from your batch would like to say any point.
Shumanta Chaudhary, 1977, electrical. So I just wanted to ask one simple question. As far as I recollect, this Ananda Krishna committee was formed in 1972. I think the year we entered the college campus. The why we took, I think Gautam Rai, a few others can highlight, why it took up to 2014 to make it to IAST. Why there was a hurriedness to change some clauses in the committee's recommendation and convert it to IAST. From 1972 up to 2014, you have to wait to make it a IAST. In between, of course, we became a university. Thanks to Dr. B. Shen, his name was not mentioned today. He had a great impact on that, on the students also. Other than Dr. Shankar Shen. So that was there. But ultimately, to Ananda Krishnan committee, their recommendation to be accepted partially, not totally. I am not very sure if someone can throw the light why it took up to 2014. I still remember at one point of time, after the greats, including Dr. B. Shen was no more, so there were certain names recommended for directorship, I think who could have contributed a lot, but did not happen. So this is a question I would like to put forward. No, প্রথম যে কমিটি ফর্ম হয়েছিল 1972 তে ওটা রিফর্ম জোশী কমিটি রিফর্ম হয়েছিল এটা একটা হয়েছিল 1970 হয়েছিল এনিওয়ে ইফ আই এম রং আই ডোন্ট থিংক আই এম রং বিকজ আই স্টিল রিমেম্বার ইট ভেরি ওয়েল
Good afternoon. See, I had graduated in 1963. I am pretty old. Yeah, I have got denture teeth, so my pronunciations are not always understandable. It's not clear. So, I sincerely convey my thanks to all the members of the organizing committee of this college and all those who are present before me. I am probably one of the oldest, most senior-most alumni are present here. So those who are younger to me and who have not retired, I welcome. I wish they may very happy and successful in the rest of the working part of their life. And for those who have retired, a happy retired life. Thank you.
Thank you, Subhasda. Actually, there are many seniors here from 1956, 57, 1960, 61, 62, all these batches.
Okay, thank you very much for all those who have collected, assembled here and gave your thoughts, whether positive or negative, whatever it is. And it's very significant that we should collect all these information, perhaps through a printed format, and distribute to all those who matters. One thing which has not been covered, I'll just mention that in all cases which I do after my graduation from this place, is we have a lot of conferences, seminars and interactive workshops arranged outside the education institutes, where we encourage encourage the existing students as well as the industry to come collectively and work together to come to a situation where we know where we stand, what are the lacunas of the education curricula, and ultimately what we expect in the industry which is not covered in the educational system. So I request some of you, even the youngsters, to suggest that we want seminars, workshops, conferences inside the auditorium, inside the college campus also, so that we can go forward. So again, on the Christmas day, thank you very much for spending your time out here. The lunch is already announced, so those who have lunch now can straight away go there, and the cultural program will happen exactly at 2:30. So it is the concluding remarks for the morning session. So it's the only 2 lines we end the program today, which is the Christmas day. আজি শুভ দিনে পিতার ভবনে অমৃত সদনে চলো যাই, চলো 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 ভাই, চলো 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 ভাই, আজি শুভ দিনে পিতার ভবনে অমৃত সদনে চলো যাই। Thank you.
Thanks, Shubhashish. Thanks, Shamada. We could not give our welcome kit to whoever has spot registered because from the registration we got some number estimate, and those things were made only for those who have registered online, pre-registered basically. So we have a few left. I'm not very sure whether we'll be able to give it to all of them who has spot registered and not got the welcome kit. So we have around 25 left. So I would request whoever has spot registered and not got the welcome kit, please go to the counter and collect your welcome kit. I'm not very sure whether it is more than 25, whether we'll be able to give. We will try to manage. Please proceed to the counter and collect your welcome kit. Thank you.